to Spencer Joseph. He is a reporter with Fox 13 in Salt Lake City to talk about what he knows at this point. Spencer, any updates you can provide at this hour?
Yeah, at this point, the latest is those images that were released by the Salt Lake FBI branch as well as the Utah Department of Public Safety. Those are new images of a person of interest, and the FBI is also offering a $100,000 reward for the capture of that suspect or that person of interest. At this point, we know that investigators on scene have been able to trace where that shooter left from campus into kind of a wooded area on the north side where the weapon was recovered. And at this point, it is an all-out manhunt across the state trying to find the suspect you're taking a look at now. Those were the two photos released by the FBI and the Utah Department of Public Safety just moments ago. And again, everyone in our community, everyone across Utah is on edge today as this shooter is still on the loose.
Spencer, can you talk about the role surveillance cameras and images have played in this? Those images that you're speaking of the suspect appears to be taken from surveillance video. Can you talk about how the FBI has really called for some of that video, even people that were there on the ground during this conversation with Charlie Kirk, how they've requested that they turn in their video, turn in their pictures?
Yeah, exactly. And moments, I mean, it felt like moments after the information was confirmed and released, a link was set up for individuals not only to share their footage of the event that happened, but also to look at the Ring doorbell camera footage around the area. There's actually quite a lot of homes. There's a lot of residential areas right around this campus in Orem, Utah. It is something that they're really going door to door and knocking on some of these homeowners' homes to try and see if they have any surveillance video. Going back to those pictures, yes, you're right. Those were actually CCTV footage from the campus. The FBI confirmed that they had these high quality images of who they believe is a suspect or a person of interest in this case. And so I think it's going to ultimately play a very large role in understanding where the shooter went after leaving campus, as well as potentially having somebody in the public identify this person.
Spencer, you mentioned that the community is pretty much on edge, and that's definitely understandable considering that this person is still out there, at least to our knowledge. Can you talk about, how the campus community has responded to this?
Yeah, I mean, I was on campus about maybe 30 minutes after the shooting. We're in Salt Lake City, so we're about half an hour away from Orem. And, the moment we heard it come out on our police scanners, we rushed down there. I arrived in the parking lot maybe about half a mile away from where the shooting was, and it was gridlock. Cars couldn't leave. Students were in tears. They were besides themselves. I spoke to one woman who just couldn't believe it was happening, tears streaming down their face. They said that they were in the second row of this event and unfortunately had to witness everything that happened. Yesterday, I also talked to a couple of staff members that were leaving. They had kind of sheltered in place, hearing that there was a shooter on campus. So they had sheltered in place with students, keeping them safe. And finally, those staff members were released as the police cleared all of the rooms on campus, and they found me and we talked for a little bit. And even on camera, they said, we cannot believe that a weapon was even able to get onto campus and commit this act of violence. They were incredibly disturbed by it, rightfully so. And I think a lot of the staff members and students at Utah Valley University, which is, by the way, the largest university in Utah in terms of undergraduate population, bigger than the University of Utah, bigger than Brigham Young University in terms of its student body. Every single one of those students today is asking some of those same questions. Are we safe on campus? How is this going to impact our education? And what happens next?
Very good point you bring up there. People shocked that this weapon was able to make it on campus. Here's my question to you concerning that. Do we know if students were checked prior to, or anyone that came out to this event, were they checked in any way by security before they were allowed to gather in here and be a part of this event at Utah Valley State University?
To my knowledge, they were not. I think that's something that the police are investigating and looking at. We know that there was some uniformed officers and some plainclothes officers that were in the crowd as well, looking out for any danger or anything that could happen. I think that that's something that necessarily hasn't been released, but from my knowledge, from students that I've talked to, they weren't checked. This wasn't something where you had to walk through a metal detector. But it is worth noting the shooter, and this is confirmed by the FBI, was on a nearby rooftop. So we're not sure, exactly how they got up there. I think that's one of the big questions that a lot of people are happening. But that shooter was actually on top of a nearby rooftop and not in the crowd. So, yeah, I think that's a huge part of the investigation and also parts of the follow-up safety questions as it comes to events like this, not only here, but across the country.
No, you're right about where the shooter was positioned. There's been obviously videos circulating online, people that were in the audience that it looked like prior to the event kind of saw someone on top of the roof before the video starts. The people actually say we saw him run from one part of the roof to the next. I think they thought it was a security measure to begin with, so they didn't report it. But a good point that you bring up there about the positioning of this shooter. Let's talk about Utah Valley State University's response to this. What has the response been so far?
In terms of the faculty, or in terms of, like the administration, or in terms of the campus population?
The administration. Is the administration saying anything about this shooting and really what happens next? Is campus open for the day? I would imagine that it's completely shut down. Kind of those mechanics of it all.
Yeah, correct. So the campus is actually closed until Monday, as the investigators are still out there right now. In fact, we have several crews in the area. A lot of them are looking at those officers. They're combing through campus still, as this is a very large scene. So the administration has confirmed the campus is closed until at least Monday. At this point, they haven't sent a lot of information about what the follow-up is going to be, but obviously they are offering resources to students that potentially witnessed this and may need some mental health services. And really, I mean, I understand that completely, that these individuals fearing for not only their lives, but fearing for the horrible scene that they just witnessed, the campus is offering them resources to make sure that they're okay. So far, though, the campus police is working with the FBI and with the Department of Public Safety here in Utah to be a coordinating agency and help them in any way that they can. So we know they're heavily involved in this investigation process, but the administration hasn't said many things about moving forward in terms of what happens after Monday, just that the campus is closed until Monday.
Let me ask you this. When it comes to events on campus, events that are polarizing like this, to your understanding, the university, I'm sure, provides some measure of security, but is it on the person who's hosting this event to then bring their own security as well?
So to my knowledge, in this particular event, it was a coordination between both. In fact, I believe it was the chief of the Utah Valley University Police Department that said they had worked very closely with Charlie Kirk's security team, and he did have a security team on hand to not only have officers there, but have members of his security team coordinate with them. So it seems like in this particular instance that did happen. To the extent in which maybe there was a failure, I think that will continue to be a conversation of how these officers, how these departments may manage these type of very, very large events. I know it's a conversation already in the community, just from individuals on campus, that they're concerned that this was able to happen. But I do know that and even the chief of police at Utah Valley University said they actually worked very closely in coordination with Charlie Kirk's security team to set up this event, and had really coordinated with each other for, I believe, about the month leading up to this event.
I know you mentioned that Orem is about 30 minutes away from Salt Lake City. Just looking at the population, the dynamics of Orem, 96,000 people, a smaller area when you compare it to Salt Lake City. Any idea how the community is responding to this? Are people kind of sheltering in place, trying to watch and see what happens as this unfolds? Are they afraid to possibly even go outside, leave their homes, thinking that this person is still out there?
Well, I could actually tell you from last night, a very large vigil was held in Orem for Charlie Kirk. Many individuals, this is one of the most conservative areas of Utah. Many individuals went to the hospital that he went to and held American flags as the procession passed. I think the general sentiment of many in Orem is that they would like to honor Charlie Kirk's life. I don't get the sense that they are maybe afraid to go outside at this point. But I'm sure some individuals are, checking their cameras, making sure, to take an extra look around. Many of the people on campus expressed that to me when we found out that the shooter was still on the loose. In fact, I was maybe 20, 30 feet away from a massive SWAT team that was going in to clear a building. And as I was on air, I heard in my ear that the shooter was still on the loose, and the person that had been taken into custody was just a person of interest, and they had been released. I actually heard that in my ear as I'm watching this, massive SWAT team go into a building, and I have no problem admitting that even made me afraid in that moment. I think a lot of students, when that situation is so dynamic and realizing the shooter is still out there, that caused a lot of fear on the campus and in the surrounding community. But in the hours following and heading into the evening, many in the community came out to show their support for Charlie Kirk and his family, as this is one of the most conservative areas of Utah.
You mentioned, Spencer, about this suspect going into the woods there in Orem. Can you kind of give me the landscape? I don't want to make assumptions here, but I want you to kind of, give me a clearer picture of what the landscape is there. I've never been there, so it leads me to believe that this person had some familiarity with that region.
Yeah, and so one of the things, and this is something we are also kind of working through, is the phrase put out by the police department was a wooded area. And as you look around the campus, yes, there are wooded areas around kind of the northern edge, but pretty much on all sides except for its east side, which is right on Interstate 15, the main corridor in Utah. Not only the main corridor in Utah, but one of the main corridors in the United States. So this campus is right up against the freeway on one side. And then on the other side, it kind of extends up into the hills a little bit and goes into residential areas. Those residential areas kind of have wooded spaces in between them. It isn't exactly like woods, if that makes sense. So there's still a lot of population around this campus, but there are areas where this person allegedly, escaped to. We're not exactly sure the exact path, but we know the police that are investigating it do know the exact path. In fact, they've taken some shoe prints, and then, of course, as we've been reporting, recovered the weapon in an area. So they must have headed somewhere towards those residential neighborhoods, as that's kind of the only area where there's a wooded area to go. And then beyond that is just, for miles, actually, in pretty much every direction, is pretty populated. We live across something called the Wasatch Front. That's the main population center in Utah. And it extends all the way up to Salt Lake of solid population. Some areas are a little bit more, some are a little bit less. But south is Provo, one of the big other centers in Utah, and that's only about 10 minutes away from Orem. So this is a very populated area. Just beyond the campus a little bit extends into some open space. And that seems to be what they're saying is this wooded area. Yeah,
I'm looking on the ground now through Google Earth, and you're absolutely right. Not a lot of wooded areas to begin with. Very populated. There's churches, for example. There's even the track and field that's a part of this area. Obviously, you have Veterans Memorial Highway, but you're right. A very populated area. So very little woods in a lot of areas where it appears, I'm not living there, but I'm looking, that I would assume people have surveillance systems. They have cameras on their homes, cameras on the buildings.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's exactly what the police are looking for right now. We have crews that are down there, and they're saying that the police are canvassing those neighborhoods. In fact, this morning during the latest update and latest press conference, they said they were going door to door. And I think that will play back to a question a little bit earlier. I think that's going to play a big role in this person being caught.
Do you think, or do you even know, has there been any updates? I know they were able to recover that rifle. You mentioned it was in those woods, near those woods. Any indication of any more information that has come out, maybe that you have that we haven't received yet? Or is this it? The surveillance pictures and also that rifle has been recovered?
I hear a lot of rumors out there about things involving this particular weapon. A lot of it is very convoluted, and so I hesitate to put stock in any of those. There's a lot on social media going around about the weapon and the suspect and all of these things. At this point, it seems as if this is the information. This is the solid information that we have. I do want to mention one thing, and if we could go on to kind of slightly different topic.
Sure.
And I'm going to pull it up on my phone right now if it will load. We do know Air Force Two is en route to Salt Lake, and we're actually tracking that right now. And one thing that we were able to confirm just a little bit ago, yeah, Air Force Two is just over Topeka, Kansas, as I'm looking on my phone. One thing we were able to confirm is Air Force Two will be taking the body of Charlie Kirk back to Arizona. Just in the last few minutes, we've been able to confirm that. So Air Force Two will land, I believe, looking like an hour to an hour and a half in Salt Lake. And then exactly what happens with the vice president, then we're not exactly sure. But that is going to be I'm sure something that we not only cover, but will be a big community interest, and many people will be outlining the roads, lining the procession route for Charlie Kirk.
And so we know Charlie Kirk, born and raised in our area, of course, but was he living in Arizona? To my understanding, I think he was living in Arizona. Is that correct, Spencer?
Yeah, that's correct. And then afterwards, we've gotten word that we believe Air Force Two will take his body back to Arizona.
Okay. I want to ask you one other question, Spencer, before we let you go. There was that video that showed someone being taken into custody. Turns out that is not the suspect. He had nothing to do with this. Obviously, he had to be questioned to make sure. Do you know where that man is from? And was he just there watching like everyone else?
I believe that is the case. I know we do have information on him in particular. In fact, one of our other reporters has been following this, so I'm going to just check really briefly to see if there's any updates on this. I believe, and this is one of those subject to change, but I do believe that was somebody that was just there, but was taken in for some reason, I'm not sure, as a person that they wanted to ask some questions of. And there also was a second suspect taken into custody, and we're still not sure about that as well. What was going on there? That's another one of those big questions that we have. Exactly what's going on with that second suspect, who they were, what that was about. Whether they were taken into custody on the campus either is another question. So those are things we're trying to work out actually right now on the ground. And I hope that we can bring you and your viewers an update in the coming hours and days.
Yeah, Spencer, you bring up a good point. I want to ask you, because it sounds like you have so many boots on the ground following this story. Just go with me quickly and give me some of the stories and angles that you're covering from your vantage point being there on the ground in Utah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're trying to chase down every single lead that we have. So we're talking to residents in the neighborhood, in that neighborhood that we're talking about, that you were asking questions about. We're out there right now. We're waiting for the latest update from police, from the Department of Public Safety, from the FBI. We're tracing down that. Obviously, we'll be covering the vice president and what happens there. We have a crew at the medical examiner's office where we believe Charlie Kirk's body is, and the procession will then take it back to Air Force One, as well as just reaction across every side of the political sphere and the human sphere. Many of our lawmakers are reacting today. Many are angry. Many are very, very angry at this, as well as a lot of individuals that are one of the things that we're exploring is how this will impact debates on campus, on college campuses. That was what Charlie Kirk was known best for, is going to colleges across America, and many disagreed with him. Many agreed with him, and sharing that political discourse it was kind of his mission, and wanted people to ask him questions. They wanted to debate. They wanted to argue. And some people virulently disagreed with him. Some people agreed with him. And so we're trying to explore a little bit more of how that will impact political discourse, political engagement, political debate on college campuses moving forward.
Yeah, and really what they will look like if they do happen in the future. There was a talk online, and I don't know if you can confirm this or not, that Charlie Kirk was actually wearing a bulletproof vest. Had you heard any details about that at all?
Actually, I haven't heard that at all. Individuals that I spoke to just didn't say that it appeared to be that. That hasn't been something that was confirmed here by police. Individuals that were very, very close to the situation didn't appear to them as if he was. But then again, I'm not sure if he was or wasn't. That isn't something that's been confirmed one way or another. But I think that certainly can be a part of the question moving forward.
Yeah, I think the crazy thing I think about when we look at our country and things like this happen, one thing, at least on the journalistic front, is you have to sift through so much stuff that's not real, to really get to the truth, especially when it comes to tips coming in through social media. How are you navigating all of that? Because it really is hard to get to the truth in this digital age, in this age of AI. All of these are now factors.
It's really, and I could tell you on this story in particular, it's really, really tough. I'm thankful here at Fox 13 in Salt Lake, we have an incredible team that is doing their due diligence at every single step to make sure that we not only provide timely information, but accurate information, because the worst thing that we can do is take an internet rumor at face value. And I think in this particular story, that is frankly everywhere right now on all social media platforms. And so we are asking questions of law enforcement as things come in. They are being at least receptive to some of those questions, even if they can't answer that information. We're working with some individuals that are analysts in law enforcement, maybe former law enforcement, former FBI. We have a lot of sources here that can help us, in a way, potentially debunk these internet rumors and things like that. But no, truly, yes. In this day and age, it is so incredibly important to make sure that we are accurate with our information, especially in a huge national and international story like this.
And especially considering how divisive people can be in really, our job now has become in some ways not to perpetuate hate and not to give those that want to push hate any more, I guess, essentially any more credit, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. I think that is the hate that is happening online right now is one of the most disheartening things to several individuals in this community. And I think a lot of, even our governor said yesterday, if anyone is cheering this, they should take a look in the mirror, as well as, saying that they will find this suspect and bring them to justice. So I think that there's a lot of conversations happening around that today.
Right. You don't have to agree, but to celebrate a death of a father, of a husband, of someone that was trying to push whatever their message is. You don't have to agree with that. To celebrate them being killed is just unfathomable. Something that I can't even wrap my mind around. I can't even get the word out. It's just, you just can't even fathom that someone would be okay with that. Spencer Joseph, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Truly, I think a lot of Utahns in particular, I could speak to Utahns and Americans as a whole. I think a lot of people are mourning as one, whether you're on the left, whether you're on the right. Today is a day for mourning and and to condemn political violence. Truly, there is no space, not only in the United States, but in the world for this form of political violence.
You're absolutely right. And those that push it, it is unfathomable. Okay, Spencer Joseph, it has been a pleasure speaking with you. I know you're hard at work. I know you'll be following this along the way, and we'll be looking for any updates coming straight from Fox 13 right in Salt Lake City. Thank you so much for being with us on Chicago
Thank
Live.
you.